Hello. For those of you who may not know me, my name is Kim Freeman. I serve as your District 1 Act Play junior high and high school chair. And some of you may be aware, some of you may not, that I am on the tail end of my first year into a cancer journey. And today I have an appointment that I can't miss. So I am sending this video with a representative, Ms. Goss, whom you've met from my school. And I'm just going to share the information that I have on your agenda with you today. And then if you have any additional questions, feel free to email me with those. And I will respond to your emails just as soon as they come through. Let's start on item number 1, which would be determine high schools with intention to participate in One Act Play. So right now, if you will indicate to Ms. Goss and Ms. Sloan, if you intend to participate in high school One Act Play, we need to go ahead and move forward planning for your participation. And I'm going to share this with one important piece of information. If unexpected things occur in your school or with your OAP company, and for some reason you have to withdraw from the contest before you compete, I just want you to be aware that if you commit at this meeting, you will still be responsible for your portion of the payment for the fees of the contest. So I know sometimes crazy unexpected things happen that make it really difficult for us to compete. And it has happened in the past to some schools. So just be aware, if you find yourself in that situation, that you'll still be responsible for your portion of the fees for your school, because we are making plans to accommodate your school at this point, and judges' contracts are going to be made, and we're just going to be in a we can't go back from what we promised our judges once we determine the number of schools. So bear that in mind as you commit to perform. The other thing that I'm going to need to know today is how many of your schools, at least that you're aware of, plan to have a middle school One Act Play. So once we finish with this video, if you would, or right now, it's fine with me too, if you guys want to pause, if you would please let Ms. Goss and Ms. Sloan know if you believe that your school will have a junior high One Act Play. One of the things, I sent out an email asking that you vote. Mike Powell from Gary ISD has asked to join our middle school One Act Play contest. Middle schools can join an existing contest if they don't have enough schools in their own academic district to be able to participate. So we don't want to deny a group of students the opportunity to have a One Act Play experience. So I have sent out an email to each school, and it's up to each participating school and their director whether or not they'd like to allow Mr. Powell and his students to participate fully in our One Act Play contest. That would make us a 5-school contest instead of a 4-school contest. If you didn't receive an email from me, or your junior high director didn't receive an email from me, if you would please touch base with that person and then have them email me a yes or a no on Gary's participation. It needs to be a unanimous vote by all of the participating schools. So if you would please just double check with your middle school directors, make sure that they receive that email from me and that they email me a yes or a no on allowing Gary to join our district. And then I will communicate that with Ms. Funderburk and with Mr. Powell, letting them know how many schools we'll have in our junior high contest going forward. Okay, that being said, that's our little bit of business to start. If you look at bullet item number 2 on our agenda, that is the date for the middle school One Act Play. I know some planning meetings, everybody gets together and decides where and when. The unfortunate thing about our circumstances in East Texas is there are precious few host schools with facilities and hosts that are willing to host these One Act Play contests. So if we were to wait until August or September, we would be in a bind to find a school that would accommodate us for our district, both for middle school and for high school. So we make those decisions very early. Most of them are made early in May so that we can guarantee you an adequate facility with a great contest host and a great contest manager. So a lot of those decisions are made immediately so that we can secure Panola College which has worked beautifully with us over the years for both junior high and high school. So you'll get some of the normal like judging input. I'm happy to take any suggestions coming up this next round of planning, like before we start making these decisions in the spring of 2027. If you'll email me April or May asking if I can investigate a different host site if you are for some reason dissatisfied with Panola College, I'm happy to entertain other ideas. We've tried to do that in the past without a whole lot of luck because there's just not a lot of great host facilities. So that being said, if you do have a concern, I am 100% open to your input. If you would just let me know in April or May of 2027 as we're wrapping up the 2026-27 school year, that's when a lot of these decisions have to be made and facilities have to be secured, or we won't be able to get our contests scheduled. Okay, just wanting to share that information with everybody is why are these dates already in place? And it's so that I can guarantee you a good facility for our contests. Okay, middle school one act play is going to be held at Panola College. The rehearsal is going to be November 16th of 2026 with the contest day on November 17th of 2026. Again, if you're here and you're just the high school director and somebody else does the middle school, they're going to be part of the A+ planning meeting for elementary and junior high. So if you would be sure that as academic coordinators or one act play folks, if you would be sure that your elementary or your junior high folks know that they need to be present at the junior high planning meeting, I'll be able to be at that one in person and we'll discuss the junior high at that point along with the middle school theatrical design contest. Which brings me to my next point on our agenda, which would be the middle school theatrical design contest. These are tentative dates. Our digital submission deadline will be January the 5th, with the in-person contest being held on January 8th, which would include the presentation, the gallery presentation, the in-person critiques, and the awards at Panola College. And that will be held in the Elizabeth R. Hedges Studio Theater with awards to follow in the QM Martin Auditorium. We're really excited to offer an in-person contest. It is my understanding that right now we're still in pilot, but I'm going to double check with Rachel Gomez, our contest manager, to see if there is a possibility that we can award district points. Not making you any promises, but somewhere I thought I heard that that was a possibility last year. So I will double check on that. Officially, it's a pilot, which means it's just kind of practice and gives us at the state level an opportunity to see what's working, see what isn't, and what we might need to change to make it a more positive contest for all the kids that are participating in the pilot. For those of you that are interested, I've got a flyer that'll be handed out by Mrs. Sloan or Miss Sloan, and it has information about a workshop on September 9th in the Elizabeth R. Hedges Studio Theater at Panola College. And that is for anyone who is interested in learning more about how to fully participate in the middle school theatrical design contest and the high school theatrical design contest. Remember, both of those can count for points for your school in spring academics. We'll go over how to approach the contest, exactly what you need to be thinking about. I'll go over both contest prompts and the handbook with you, and you'll have a chance to ask questions and see samples and get lesson ideas from me and from my daughter Laura, who teaches, Laura Gafford. She teaches at Timpson, and we are both very familiar with the contest. Both of us have participated. I've been participating for over 10 years, and she's 6 or 7 in at this point. So we're very familiar with the contest, and we can help you get your feet on the ground for that. So if you would just, Ms. Sloan sent out an invitation, and so if you would just fill that out so we know how many to plan on and expect, that would be fantastic. Our next is our high school dates and judges, and I have added an attachment here from Mrs. Funderburk at Panola College. Okay, this gives us all of the dates of our one act play contests all the way through state. So please refer to that In addition, that form tells you who your adjudicators will be all the way through the state competition. So you will notice for district, our contest is on March 6th. Unfortunately, for some districts, it was almost impossible to make this not land on our spring break, mine included. So I've already let my students who are considering auditioning for One Act Play that they need to plan on March 6th. They're going to have to be available. They can't start their vacation until contest is over. So have that on your radar if you're someone whose spring break starts the 5th or the 6th. Also, had to tell my kids, you don't get to start your vacation until after the 9th, because if you advance from district on the 6th, we turn around and we have our bi-district on March 8th would be our rehearsals, and March 9th is the contest. So those of us who have spring break, you need to get that in your kids' minds right now and get that commitment from them in advance. As of right now, area is set to be held at Union Grove High School on April the 9th. Haven't heard that that's going to change, but there was some question about that because it's so far north and we have a school that would have to come from the Gulf of Mexico to participate. So Sabine Pass has a long trip up here. Region will be held at Panola College on April 22nd and April 23rd. And finally, state is May 10th, 11th, and 12th. And if that looks a little bit confusing for you, generally 1A is on May 10th. 2A would be on May 11th. So most companies travel out there on the 10th because May the 11th would actually be your rehearsal and performance day. May 12th would be your critique day. So that just kind of gives you an idea. That ends up being 3 days if any one of us are blessed and fortunate enough to have the opportunity to represent our region at state. You will notice all the way down you have your adjudicators named, and there's a very important reason for that. You at this point are probably already considering or scheduling performance clinics for your kids to get practice and feedback before contest. What you need to do is pay attention to who your judges are and don't schedule yourself a clinic with one of those adjudicators. That really messes things up because if they clinic you, then they can't keep that judging assignment. Now, the judges do a really good job to try to keep track of that, but every once in a while there's a goof up and then the league has to completely reschedule everything, so that's a huge nightmare. So you can really help everybody out by being aware of who your judges are as you advance through the levels of competition, and be careful as you're thinking about getting a clinic with an adjudicator before contest. Check and make sure it's not one of these people right here. Super important. Now, this is really important as well. If you notice on your district, there's only one judge. Well, our district is voted out of a panel of 3. So right now, Ms. Funderburk has secured our lead judge, but it's imperative that each one of you as directors gets the opportunity to provide feedback for who you would like to see be your adjudicators. Now, you can't say, I dislike this person, I don't like their critique style, whatever. We're not allowed to do that. We used to be able to do that back in the olden days. But now all you can do is tell us who you would like. So please feel free to email either me or Ms. Funderburk at Panola College a list of judges that you would like to have. And then I can forward that information to her. And then when she is able in November to secure the rest of our judging panel, she will do her dead level best to try to find adjudicators that we all feel excited about having critique our kids. So again, please send, if you have a list of adjudicators that you just love, they work great with your kids, you think they're fantastic, please feel free to send that list to either me or Ms. Funderburk. And we will do our best to make sure that you get the panel that you will feel amazingly positive about for our district contest. Now, you may be asking, well, why don't I get any say-so in anything past that? Because you see your panels are already set. Looking at the sheet, you see you've got 3 judges named as you go down. Because those are indicated by the league. The league picks those judges. They have to be certified to adjudicate the higher level contests. So the league picks those for us. We don't have any say-so once we get past our own district contest. So that being said, Please be sure and give me your judges' feedback, or not your judges' feedback, but your judging preferences as soon as possible so I can get that information to Ms. Funderburk in advance of the time that she is able to secure judges for us for district. Okay, I also kind of typed out, in addition to the one act play contest, if you look back at your agenda, you will see the UIL film submission deadline. I don't know how many of you have students who are interested in participating in UIL film, but the digital submission of UIL film is January the 9th. Those are adjudicated in, I think, 3 rounds. It might be 4 now. 3 rounds of digital adjudication, terminating with the finalists, and there are 6 of them per category. All being showcased in Austin at UT. Last year it was at Hog, or a year before it was at Hog Auditorium on the UT campus. And that's a really neat experience for kids who have an interest in filmmaking. Again, if you're interested in having kids participate in film and you're not quite sure how to get started, feel free to reach out to me. I'd be happy to share what I know about that contest for you as well. Theatrical design submission deadline is February the 13th. That is also a digital submission. And if you're interested in having kids participate in that contest, again, feel free to come to that workshop on the 9th. Or if that's something that you just can't break away for, you're always welcome to reach out to me, and I would be happy to help you get started and give your kids that opportunity as well. If your students advance to the state theatrical design contest, that's held at the Austin ISD Performing Arts Center in Austin, Texas on May 15th and 16th. And then, oops, I see a typo. I'm missing a T. Sorry. One act play, we have a slightly different date here, May 14th through the 15th, and I'll double check and see whether Ms. Funderburk has that date correctly or if it is me, but I will double check my agenda and adjust that appropriately if I have my date incorrect here. Let me see if there is anything else I've got on that. Nope. Okay, second page of my agenda is the high school performance order. So here in just a moment, what we'll do is we will have Miss Goss, Casey, who's the Mount Enterprises Academic UIL Coordinator. She has numbers written on little cards, and we will go around the room and we'll just draw out the number, and then Miss Goss will record for us the order of performance. So whatever number you draw out of that baggie, that's going to be the order that you go for performance at the district competition. If I've got 5 schools listed, but if we have a 6th, I've got a little number 6 in there, and we'll just add that. Normally, rehearsals go in the same order of performance, but if you have any reason that you would need to go by distance, for instance, your school that's farther away, or you have some kind of a baseball, softball, band, who knows what kind of conflict we might be running into. If you will let either me or Mrs. Funderburk know about that conflict, we will be happy to attempt to accommodate you. It is prom season, you know, it's people's spring break. So please let us know if there's some reason that you would need an accommodation or a schedule change for rehearsals. Ms. Funderburk's real good about sending that information out early, and if you let her know if there's a problem, we'll work really hard to make sure that you guys can get your rehearsal at a time that's convenient for you, within reason, within what she can do. The other thing that Ms. Funderburk needs to know about, say if you have a student that it has some difficulty ambulating, they have trouble walking a distance, or, you know, who knows, you might be a director in a boot, who knows, it can happen to us too. If there's some reason that you need particular accommodations at the contest site on contest day, if you would just write those down and communicate those to Ms. Goss, or again, send me an email, Mrs. Funderburk will work really, really hard to try to make sure that you have the smoothest, happiest, most stress-free contest day possible. Just let us know. Additionally, there is a section in the in your form for your student entry. If you need, actually, I think it's on the website if I'm mistaken, There is a form for accommodations. Say you have a student in a wheelchair or with some kind of additional special need that your CM needs to be aware of. Communicate that with me, and then there should be also a mock form or something on the ULI website that you can fill out that will inform them of what you're going to need before you get to the contest site. So here in just a minute, when I get done, everybody will go ahead and draw. We'll get that performance order, and then I'll send that on to Ms. Funderburk. The last bit of information on our agenda is UIL or OAP important deadlines. The very first important deadline, put it in your calendar, set an alarm, is October 1st, 2026. In October, we have to enroll in the contest. That means you are pretty sure, within reason, that you are going to be competing, and that is done through SpeechWire. So again, if you have any trouble with SpeechWire, Miss Sloan is the wizard of wizards of SpeechWire. I can be happy to help you. We can help you if you're new to that system. But on October 1st, you enroll, and this isn't title enrollment. This is just saying we commit to participate in One Act Play, and then we have a list of schools who are going to participate. So that's October 1st. The next important deadline for you to remember is December the 6th, 2026. This is your deadline to submit plays that are not on the approved list. So right now you can go to the UIL website and you can go into high school One Act Play, and you'll be able to find the list of approved plays. And if you're struggling, you can even type it into a search bar and it'll pop up, or Chat GPT. You can just ask Chat, hey, is this on the approved list? And Chat will tell you if it is or isn't. Anyway, there's lots of easy ways to access that. If you have selected a play that has not been approved, that is not on either the short list of plays or the long list of plays on the UIL website, you must submit a cut and highlighted copy of that show to the league with $30, as well as a form that you can find on the UIL website. And it has to be read and approved by a play reading representative from the UIL. If that is in your plans, then it is my strong recommendation to do that as soon as humanly possible. Last year, they had hundreds of plays to read. And so the sooner you get that play submitted, the sooner that you'll get an approval and you'll know you're good to go. And if for some reason they do not approve your show, then you should have enough time to find a backup. I recommend that you have a backup anyway, especially if you're doing one that's not on the list. Excuse my grandfather clock. Same thing for middle school. If your play is not on the approved list, mine isn't, and so I already sent mine off to the league. Same thing, $30 fee, along with the form sent to the league and a cut highlighted copy of the script. I'm going to add one more important piece of information that's drastically affecting all of our decisions at this point. It is harder and harder to get permission to cut plays. The very first thing you should be doing, regardless of whether or not your play is on the approved list or not on the approved list, you need to check with the licensing restrictions from your publisher. There are some plays that publishers no longer, or authors for that matter, no longer allowed to be cut. For instance, one of them is Steel Magnolias. You cannot cut Steel Magnolias to 40 minutes anymore. They don't allow it. You can play uninterrupted sections of it, like you can cut off the first 15 minutes and cut off the last 15 minutes, so it's a 40-minute section. But you cannot perform a cutting of that show. You can only perform uninterrupted scenes from. There are some plays and playwrights that are doing that. There are some that are flat out just saying, nope, you can't cut my play. So one of the very first things you often have to do is contact your publisher. Find out, can I cut this play? If so, many of them require you to submit a copy of your cutting. Fortunately, a lot of them let you submit a digital copy directly to the publishing company. They will then either send that to the playwright or the agent for the playwright, and they'll either approve or not approve your cutting. And if they don't approve you to cut the play, it doesn't make any difference. You're not sending that to the league because the league will not approve it. So anyway, make sure that you've reached out to your publishing company and checked out what you're going to have to do to license it, because Believe me, you start advancing with your show and you don't have permission to cut, you're in so much trouble. So check that first. Once you have approval for a short cutting from your publishing company and you know you can license that without any difficulty, then if your show isn't on the approved list, then you can send it off to be read. But those steps need to be taken care of. If you've not already done that, get on it so that you make sure that you don't get any surprises getting closer to contest, because that is so stressful for both you and for your students. So please double check all of that before you set your heart on a show and have a backup. What else do I want to tell you about that? Because that's such a nightmare hassle for all of us right now. I think that's everything. I might think of something else. Okay. So you have, for high school only, until December the 6th to do that. You have 45 days. So I knew I was doing one that wasn't on the approved list for junior high, so I went ahead and submitted it. You have 45 days before your contest to get that submitted to the league. Remember, they're getting bombarded right now because that opened in August. So the sooner you can get your title in, the better off you'll be. There is also additions to the unit set which require approval. You have to also submit an addition to the unit set. If you look in your handbook, which is also available online, it tells you exactly what things are approved, what things you can build your set from, how much fabric's unlimited, soft goods are unlimited, but where you can place them on the stage isn't. So be really super familiar with your handbook. And if you want to include, for instance, one of our friends wanted to include this giant bell that he wanted to put for the Hunchback of Notre Dame. And he had to submit a request to be able to use this big bell that he designed. And so if you have something that's not in that handbook that hasn't already been approved, then you're going to have to turn in a schematic drawing, perhaps photos of what you want to use, and get those approved by the league. And if you wait until after December 6th, you're out of luck. If you don't get it approved, you might be at region and you have this really important piece of scenic that you want to use, and they're going to say, no, you can't use that. Normally, Ms. Funderburk's going to catch that early at district and perhaps you can make changes. But if you want to use something that isn't already in your handbook, you need to get that submitted no later than December the 6th. November the 6th is when you will enter your contest or your contestants and your title for the middle school. So that will be done, I believe, on a mock form. At least it was last year. They're really extending SpeechWire, but Ms. Funderburk will communicate exactly where you turn that in. Just know that November 6th is 10 days before our contest, and that information is due 10 days before you compete. So I know a lot of times I wait till the last second because I want to make sure all my babies are eligible, because sometimes they're not. So I will wait to make sure that we've hit those eligibility notices, but you have to have that in by November the 6th. To Ms. Funderburk through the UIL system. And then February 23rd is going to be our contestant entry deadline for the UIL system for our high school, and that is in SpeechWire, not the UIL system. Forgive me, SpeechWire. I forgot to include an important date, and I believe it's February 2nd, but double check me on the UIL site. That is when you have to be settled on a title. That's when you have to know what show you're doing. So you've done all your homework. You know you have the right to cut it. You know you have the license to perform it. You know you can afford the royalties. You know where to pay the royalties. You've got all your paperwork lined out. You're good to go. Then through SpeechWire, early in February, like the first or second, so it's really early in February, you'll need to put in what title of the show you're going to perform. So make sure you got your ducks in a row by the beginning of February, and you'll enter your title entry there. It's really important that we know what play you're doing, so make sure you get that in time. The very bottom of my agenda, I've included my phone number and my email. So if you have any questions, concerns, any of this wasn't clear, I'm kind of rushing through everything, please do not hesitate to reach out to me. I want to be the most accommodating district chair that I can be. I want you to have a stress-free, wonderful one-act play experience, in as much of it can be controlled by those of us who are trying to organize your contests. Much love to everyone. Please reach out to me with any questions or concerns, or to Ms. Funderburk or to Ms. Sloan, and we will do absolutely everything in our power Go ahead and draw for performance order. I wish everybody the absolute best. Please reach out to me with any questions or concerns. Break all the legs this year. I hope everybody has a wonderful, wonderful 26-27. Thank you so much. Bye, y'all.